the U.S. government had a little round table with one of the recently retired football coaches, Nicks Saban, about the NIL. And some of his comments about the things that he felt about it, I thought were very telling about how, if done wrong, it could hurt college sports. If done right, it could help players. And one thing he said, and I read it right here, um, Nick Saban said about the college NIL, he was like, that's one of the reasons why I stepped away, is because I usually have players and their families to my house before the season, and his wife kind of talked to the moms and stuff like that. So he had players at his house, and he's talking to the players, and the wife is talking to the moms. And typically, their goal as at Alabama and his goal as a coach is to, like, I want to develop you as a person. I want to develop you as a player. I want to prepare you to be successful at at football. But at the same time, I want to prepare you to be successful as a human being. I want to prepare you to be successful at life. I want to prepare you to have a career after this. And one thing the wife was telling Nick Saban, I guess Miss Saban, it was like, why are we doing this? And the coach was like, hey, what do you mean, why are we doing this? And she was like, well, I'm talking to the parents, and all they're talking about is, how much money are we going to make? How much money is my player going to make coming here?
That's the
How
name of the
much
game
money?
now.
They didn't say, how are you going to develop my player? They didn't say, is this a good situation? What is your goals? What are your plans? If he doesn't make it in football, how will he still be able to make a living? All they're talking about and asking about is, how much money are we going to make? And I think for him as a coach, I think he said, like, all the stuff that I learned and instilled in my players in the program over the past 50 years, I feel like is out the window, because now with the NIL, is all about the money. It's not about the intangible things that young people need to develop into good human beings. And I thought that was
Right.
real, real crucial and important for a coach like that, who recently retired. Who, at this point, if you're an Alabama fan or not, he's the GOAT. Like, he's one of the best coaches to ever coach college football, if not football in general. And those are his takes on the game right now, is that the game is in a bad place because of NIL. What do you think about that?
Um, I feel like that's one of those things where there's pros and cons to everything, you know. So him,
Yeah.
like, seeing it from his perspective, he's on the side of, if we get the kids in my program, they'll be taken care of, right? But that's for that small, like, microcosm of people that he's kind of um, in charge of, or he's, you know, leading. But there's other players across the nation that don't get to get in a program, you know, that he actually creates. So these other programs may not award these players the same opportunities or having that same sense of family dynamic. So they may go play at a program, and the program they're at is only going to give them, listen, you show up to practice, you do what you got to do to keep your scholarship, right? And it's like, okay, that's it. They come there, they work, they go home. But then now these players are like, okay, well, if I can come there and I can actually make some money from it, why wouldn't I do that if all I'm doing is going there to work? Because the way everything is set up over here, these people don't really look at me like that. They just look at me as being a person that can be a part of this program to make the school look good. You know, and if that's all they see me as, then why would I want to build that type of relationship here, you know, or why would I want to do that? Because a lot of people get scholarships just to have the scholarship to get through school and go through it, or just to have the scholarship to get them out of whatever situation they're in. And that's it. No one in the program actually takes them under their wing. So I see both sides of it, but I understand where he's coming from, saying it could change the face of how college sports is kind of conducted today and what it'll look like 10, 15 years from now. So it's not to anyone's detriment. It's only, this is the beginning. And in the beginning, typically things feel easier than they are. But in this sense, it's harder because they got to iron out all the kinks. It's almost like launching a beta program. So you do the first trial to get the bugs out. And once the bugs are gone, then you know what you can do later on to keep the process moving and flowing.
Yeah. Uh, And one thing he said as well was he talked to NFL coaches in the past year or so, since he retired, about players coming in. And one thing that the NFL coaches are saying about these players since the NIL, and I want to really understand like how that ties together. He said, one, players are coming in less developed. Two, players are coming in more entitled. And three, players are coming in less resilient. Like those three things as a player, it don't matter how much money you have, you're not going to be able to withstand the stress and pressure and longevity that you want to have that comes with playing a sport professionally. And when coaches can say, hey, these players are coming from college and they're not developed. They may have a
Mm.
bag, they may have $2 or $3 million that they didn't have before they came, but they're not developed as I want them to be as a professional coach. They're more entitled and they're less resilient. I'm talking about those are three things as a coach, as a trainer, as a parent. Those are three things I don't want my kids to be or my players to be. I want you to be more developed. So in sports, you can think of development as like qualified. If you're applying for a
Right.
job at like NASA, I'm looking at your qualification. Like what have you done to get this job? When you apply for a job in the NFL, development is like your qualification. You're not developed enough to be at this level and be successful right now. Or like right away, that's a problem. Two is entitled. And this is something that we really going to have a whole podcast about, is that like players who haven't really done anything on the top level feel like they should get preferential treatment because of, oh, I made $3 million in college. Well, how you tell me I'm not a starter? I I did X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Pringles paid me this, and Ford paid me this, and his local mom and pop paid me this, and I'm moving to the pro level. I already have $5 or $6 million in my bank account. I'm third string. No, I should be first string. Well, do you know the playbook? Have you studied the game? Have you put the time in? Like
Right.
they're
Right.
coming in
Right.
entitled, and then lastly is less resilient. That's that's a real blow, a real hit to a player's long ability to have a long term career. Because if you're less resilient, that just means that whenever I put some stress on you, you're gonna
You're
fold.
gonna quit.
Whenever
Yeah,
I
you're gonna quit.
whenever I put some real deal, like, okay, look, I need you to study the playbook, know the playbook in and out, and guess what? You may not play. That player gonna fold. Or if that player don't fold, what else are they gonna do? Fight or flight.
They gonna figure it out. Yeah. Yeah. They gonna
Right.
push through.
So
They gonna
right
get to the other
now,
end.
it seems like they saying that these players are flying, even in college, transfer portal. These players are less resilient. So guess what? If I can't get my way at this school, what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go to next school. And if I can't be the man at the next school, what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go to next school. And one thing I read when I was reading this article about Nicks Saban in this roundtable was each time a player transfers, it lowers their graduation probability by 20%. So he's
Mm.
saying that like my philosophy was develop players, develop the person, and give them an opportunity to be successful on the field and in the classroom, right? And now it's like, hey, make sure these players are getting the most money. And then if they don't make it in the classroom, it don't matter because they're getting paid. But if I give you $2 million and you don't have a high enough education to understand how to manage your money, in 5 years you're not going to have that money and you're not going to have a career.
Right.
So it may look better on the front end to be like, hey, let me make sure a little Johnny, a little Raekwon or whatever is getting all this money. But if they don't have the support system, the infrastructure, the people in place to help them, how will they be able to maintain and grow in these positions? And that's what he was kind of alluding to when he was talking about it's just a different game now, and it's hard to get players to buy in to just working hard and all the things that come with being a part of a ground up program.
Right. Exactly. So I definitely understand that.
So I thought that was a good. I thought that, I mean, especially like for me as a trainer, I thought that was a big piece to pay attention to. As that a player, I mean, a coach on Nick Saban level is pretty much saying like, "Yo, this NIL stuff is getting out of hand." And not that the money is getting out of hand. Like we want them to have money, but just the, the fact that there's no infrastructure on how to police it, how to manage it, and now players are just doing stuff that's going to hurt their future in the long term.